Hi, I'm Paul Price, a Research Fellow at Dublin City University, funded by Ireland's Climate Change Advisory Council, and working with Professor Barry McMullen and Dr. Aideen O'Doherty. We are looking at national mitigation scenarios equitably aligned with meeting the Paris temperature goal. In that context, at this point, all mitigation options must be employed. So this presentation examines the trade-offs between permanent methane mitigation and carbon dioxide removal, which have the same mitigation effect of limiting and then potentially reducing total warming if gross CO2 emissions are reduced sufficiently. Here, in the AR6 Working Group 1 illustrative scenarios for 2015 to 2100, we have zoomed in to look only at scenarios that could be Paris consistent. That's SSP 1, 1.9 and 2.6. On the left we see global temperature change above and the corresponding annual CO2 emissions below. Overshoot of 1.5 degrees Celsius occurs around 2030. We can therefore define this as a carbon budget net zero point. That is, if emissions theoretically stopped at that point, then the additional warming commitment from then is approximately zero. Temperature peaks above 1.5 degrees Celsius and soon after, CO2 reaches net zero before 2060. As this net zero point occurs in overshoot, we can define this point in time and in annual emissions as the overshoot net zero point. If CDR exceeds gross CO2, then net negative CO2 for a period enables temperature reduction to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and at that point we have returned to the carbon budget net zero point. Importantly, this CO2 scenario is reliant on very substantial non-CO2 reductions. Methane is cut by about 50% by 2050 and nitrous oxide by 20%. Reducing agricultural methane is crucial to Paris-aligned action, because cutting fossil fuel cuts CO2 but increases non-CO2 forcing due to the loss of aerosol cooling. Unless agriculture and land use achieve substantial mitigation, then achieving 1.5 degrees Celsius likely already implies an unfeasibly small carbon budget, even allowing for overshoot. See the 2020 paper by Menges and Matthews. So now we see global overshoot as inevitable for 1.5 degrees Celsius, but we can also note that if the carbon budget is seen as being exhausted by all UNFCCC parties from a set year, such as 2015 or before, then the high-emitting nations exhaust their own fair share budget quota more quickly and go into overshoot even earlier than the global average and much earlier than low emitters. Therefore, deploying all mitigation options is critical to limiting the amount of national quota overshoot. So within the Paris Agreement's Article 2 Equity and Temperature Goal Framework, normative choices are unavoidable if science is to provide policy-relevant assessment for national climate mitigation. Therefore, it is very important to set out assessment choices clearly in regard to prudence, responsibility, and equity. That way, if others disagree, they also have to show their choices. Furthermore, failing to declare normative choices clearly and explicitly, as is commonly the case, can be seen as evasionary. Here, for prudence, we look at a 50% chance of limiting to 1.5 degrees Celsius. For responsibility, we define a base year of 2015 as the point from which a national budget share depletes, and before this point, historical responsibility is addressed by other means. For equity, as a commonly used quantification aligned with environmental law, we use equal per capita allocation of the remaining 2015 global GHG budget. As the GWP100 metric does not reflect global warming impact, we use the GWP star method to calculate cumulative CO2 warming equivalent, or CO2W emissions, from the 2015 base year, as this measure directly relates to temperature impact. Looking at the three main gases in the IPCC scenario database, we calculated the aggregate CO2W pathways for all scenarios within the 1.5 degrees Celsius low overshoot scenario set. From this non-random scenario sampling of the climate model, we derived the percentiles and we used the 50th percentile to define the remaining multigas global GHG budget from 2015. Coming now to Ireland, per capita CO2 fossil fuel and cement emissions are a bit higher than the EU average. Unusually, land use is a net emission source, mainly due to CO2 losses from organic soils. Ireland also has an unusual non-CO2 emissions profile with 3 times the per capita methane and nitrous oxide emissions of the average EU member state, due to an agriculture sector focused on meat and dairy production from cattle and sheep, and this has now expanded since 2010. Climate action policy has now been legally strengthened through a revision to Ireland's Climate Act in 2021. The Act requires society-wide 5-year carbon budgets with sectoral allocation, and also requires the carbon budgeting programme and actions to be consistent with Paris Article 2, which calls for equitable implementation aligned with meeting the temperature goal. Global per capita allocation of the remaining global multigas budget results in 86 tonnes of CO2 warming equivalent per capita. Multiplying this value by the national population in 2015 gives the multigas national carbon quota. For Ireland, this results in a quota of 410 million tonnes of CO2W from 2015 that is then depleted by net CO2W emissions from 2015. This slide, showing national emission outcomes for 2015 to 2100 for a single scenario, provides a guide to reading our results. The red lines in all charts are the aggregate GHG total, black is net CO2, blue is methane, and orange is nitrous oxide. On the left is annual GWP100 CO2e outcome, where radical reductions in fossil fuels, cement and land use result in net zero CO2 before 2050, becoming slightly net negative thereafter. In this scenario, substantial reductions in mass emissions of CH4 and N2O occur up to 2030, with only a small decrease thereafter. The central chart shows the corresponding GWP star outcome for annual CO2W. The net CO2 and N2O lines are unchanged, but the methane plot is radically different as the reduction in annual methane emissions results in sharply negative CO2W values on an annual basis from 2025 to 2050. The chart at right shows cumulative CO2W values from 2015 onward. Hence, the beginning of 2015 is defined as 0. Note that the national contribution to global warming up to 2015 may be substantial, but this historic responsibility requires a different allocation basis, such as financial and technology transfers to developing nations. This cumulative chart is the key output, as it shows the national aggregate GHG red line relative to the 410 million tonne CO2 national carbon quota for the 3 gases. We see overshoot of the quota beginning in 2023 and peaking at the overshoot net zero point, which is the maximum carbon debt that has to be repaid, if you like, to return to the quota net zero level aligned with 1.5 degrees Celsius. Permanent CDR prior to 2050 in Ireland is not projected to be large in the core scenarios considered in national carbon budgeting. Therefore, in this particular scenario, it is methane mitigation that has the largest negative temperature impact contribution to Ireland's 2050 climate action. So this slide shows results for 4 different mitigation scenarios for Ireland, all for 2015 to 2100. For each scenario, the annual emission chart is shown directly above the corresponding cumulative chart. Respectively, from left to right are increasingly deep cuts in both annual methane and N2O. All have a very similar net CO2 pathway. For reference, the CO2e lines from GWP100 are dashed, but the focus is on the solid lines, the GWP star outcomes, especially the aggregate cumulative CO2W relative to the horizontal dotted line showing the national quota level. In all scenarios, the aggregate line reaches the maximum overshoot at the overshoot net zero point before falling to quota net zero by 2100 at latest. Thereafter, ongoing N2O emissions are balanced by negative net CO2, which may include residual gross CO2 emissions. Methane annual emissions are deeply cut from 2020 to 2030 by differing amounts, and thereafter only reduce slowly to stabilise methane forcing. Note, there is a 20-year lag time to 2050 before the full forcing reduction effect results from the deep methane mitigation up to 2030. Negative net CO2 in 2050 is then adjusted to meet the 1.5 degrees Celsius target by 2100. A 10% cut in annual methane by 2030 results in a small corresponding increase in temperature, shown by the lower left chart's solid blue line above 0 for cumulative CO2W beyond 2050. meaning that far deeper negative net CO2 is required, so that's far more CDR. By contrast, the 43% reduction on the right in non-CO2 greatly increases methane's negative cumulative CO2W contribution and therefore reduces the need for CDR to meet the target. So these bar charts in the same order for the 4 scenarios show that the same net negative cumulative CO2W outcome from methane and CDR is required in each case, but the contributions from methane and CDR vary substantially. The achievable level of permanent CDR storage in Irish territory may only be 200 million tonnes of CO2 in total, see the paper given by Barry McMullen, and CDR achievement likely has a large lead time and cost. Therefore, given Ireland's Paris-aligned 2050 climate neutrality target, there is a highly policy-relevant trade-off between near-term permanent annual methane emissions reduction and CDR, in Ireland particularly, but also in other nations and globally, comparing to aiming for large-scale CDR that may not be achievable. Within Paris-aligned action, it is far more certain and likely much less costly to refocus agriculture away from methane and nitrogen-intensive meat and dairy production and toward direct-to-human food crops, also addressing food security. So, to summarise, our findings are most relevant to the interface between science and policy, particularly in a context, as now in Ireland, where there is legal force to carbon budgeting assessment consistent with Paris Agreement's Article 2. First, for a Paris-aligned temperature goal, GWP star can be used to assess a multigas remaining cumulative carbon budget from a given base year, including methane, and within clearly specified normative parameters, GWP star can assess the multigas aggregate temperature impact of the proposed policy pathways. GWP100 will continue to be used in global and national GHG assessment, but GWP star assessment can usefully and rapidly compare the temperature impact of all proposed multigas pathways. Next, the case of Ireland's depletion of an equal per capita quota from 2015 illustrates the imminent quota overshoot faced by many wealthy so-called developed nations. The immediate policy aim must be to limit the peak carbon debt level reached by the overshoot net zero point, sometimes described as no further warming contribution, and then to achieve an early return to quota net zero, which is the Paris consistent objective. Ireland has high methane emissions, therefore it has a large methane mitigation opportunity toward meeting a Paris-consistent 2050 target that can be effective provided serious substantial annual methane reduction begins immediately. Other nations and globally there may be a proportionately lesser methane mitigation lever, but methane mitigation is likewise important in limiting the CDR requirement. All of this means that the escalating difficulty of achieving equitable Paris-consistent climate actions means that the reference in many research articles to some sectors as being hard to abate is becoming ever less scientifically defensible. Sectors such as aviation or intensive meat and dairy production that have substantial contributions to increasing or sustaining climate forcing likely have to be abated. Otherwise, good faith commitment to Paris-consistent action becomes impossible. Finally, my last 2 slides are a quick look at the IPCC's latest illustrative 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario relative to the 1.5 degree goal, and that's shown here by Rosalie et al. The temperature chart indicates that below 1.3 degrees Celsius is reached by 2100 and continues lower thereafter. Of course, that would be a good long-term outcome, but we might question whether it is Paris-aligned, as the agreed objective in the Paris Agreement is to limit to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So achieving 1.3 degrees Celsius would require a considerably greater quantity of CDR. Directing policy toward this pathway could risk deterring near-term methane mitigation in agriculture, alongside the related and implied dietary change, and other so-called hard-to-abate sectors may also be deterred from mitigating by reliance on CDR. This large amount of CDR requirement may also increase the apparent reliance for wealthy nations and corporations in their mitigation planning, which could in itself have inequitable effects on poorer countries and intergenerationally. To look at this issue, on the left here, the previous slide's illustration is adjusted and stretched to roughly align the vertical and horizontal axes with a GWP star comparison of global scenarios. Our GWP star aggregation tool is used to echo the AR6 scenario as shown in the central annual and cumulative chart and compare it with a scenario on the right stabilizing at 1.5 degrees Celsius. In both cases, the net CO2 reduction reduces to net zero by 2050 and the non-CO2 reductions are the same. The difference is that by stabilizing at 1.5 degrees Celsius, the stabilization scenario does not require the AR6 scenario's additional CDR to achieve a further 0.2 degrees reduction down to 1.3 degrees Celsius. As a result, the stabilization scenario requires only a third of the large CDR amount required by the AR6 scenario. Thanks very much for listening, and I'd welcome any questions.